The restriction. Commander Maya Rice stood at the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel Peacemaker, watching the magnificent rotating structure of Stellar Nexus, the political center of the Galactic Concord. The massive station's gleaming rings reflected the light of the nearby star, creating an impressive display that was meant to inspire awe from newcomers. And it did. "Beautiful, isn't it?" said Admiral Harrison as he joined her at the viewport. "Hard to believe that in a few hours, we'll be signing away our right to properly defend ourselves." Maya's expression hardened. The Joint Chiefs must be furious about Section 23. They are. But what choice do we have? "We're the newcomers to this interstellar party," Harrison replied, his voice tinged with carefully controlled frustration. Section 23 of the Galactic Concord Admission Treaty specifically prohibited Earth and its colonies from constructing or operating warships beyond Defense Class 3, essentially nothing more powerful than lightly armed patrol vessels. The Concord's official justification was that emerging spacefaring species needed to demonstrate peaceful intentions before being granted full military privileges. "What bothers me," Maya said quietly, "is that we're the only ones with these restrictions in the last 50 years. Harrison nodded grimly. "That's because the Duraxians pushed for it. As founding members of the Concord, they get what they want." 6 hours later, Maya sat stiffly in her formal uniform at the Grand Assembly as Earth's Ambassador Lin signed the treaty. The Duraxian delegation, led by Grand Minister Volbrax, watched with undisguised satisfaction. The towering reptilian aliens had been particularly vocal about restricting human military development, citing aggressive tendencies in Earth's history. "The Galactic Concord welcomes Earth as its newest member," announced High Chancellor Eliax, a willowy bioluminescent being from the Luminar species. "May this mark the beginning of a harmonious relationship that benefits all civilizations." Maya smiled diplomatically, but her thoughts were elsewhere. Earth's intelligence services had been monitoring increased Duraxian fleet movements near human colonies in the Arcturus system. Despite their civilized veneer, the Duraxians had a history of territorial expansion through what they called cultural protection zones. 3 months after the treaty signing, Maya's worst fears materialized. She was serving as XO aboard the patrol vessel Sentinel when an emergency transmission reached them from New Seattle, a mining colony on Arcturus IV. "This is Governor Chen of New Seattle. We are under attack by Duraxian vessels claiming we violated their ancestral domain. These are civilian operations. We have no military presence. Please send." The transmission cut off abruptly. Captain Keller's face darkened as he turned to Maya. "Even at maximum speed, we'll take 2 days to reach them." In an emergency session of Earth's Defense Council, Fleet Admiral Nakamura slammed his fist on the table. "This is exactly what we predicted. The Duraxians waited until we were bound by treaty before making their move. We've filed an official complaint with the Concord," Defense Secretary Okonkwo reported. "They've initiated an investigation." "Which means nothing will happen for weeks, if ever," Nakamura growled. "We need to deploy the Fifth Fleet and violate the treaty we just signed," Ambassador Lin asked, having returned to Earth for the crisis meeting. "That would give the Duraxians exactly what they want, an excuse to paint us as the aggressors." "So we just abandon our people?" Nakamura demanded. "No," said a new voice from the doorway. Dr. Sophia Chen, Director of Advanced Technologies, entered carrying a data tablet. "We adapt." All eyes turned to her as she activated a holographic display showing schematics for an unusual vessel design. "Section 23 restricts military vessels," Chen explained, "but says nothing about civilian ships with advanced defensive capabilities." "Go on," Lin said, leaning forward with interest. "We've been developing the Vulcan Initiative, a new class of mining vessels designed for hazardous environments like gas giant atmospheric operations. They feature reinforced hulls, powerful shield systems, and high-energy extraction tools." Admiral Nakamura's eyes narrowed as understanding dawned. "Extraction tools that could function as weapons." "Precisely," Chen nodded. and atmospheric collection systems that could theoretically operate as tractor beams. Every system has dual functionality, but officially, they're all industrial. "How many do we have?" asked Okonkwo. 8 prototype vessels are ready at the Luna shipyards. They can be deployed immediately. Ambassador Lin studied the schematics carefully. The Concord inspectors have already certified them as Class 1 civilian vessels. Chen finished with a thin smile. They match every technical specification. On paper, they're mining ships. 48 hours later, the 8 vessels of what was unofficially dubbed Vulcan Fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Arcturus system. Each ship bore the logo of the Earth Mining Corporation, with names like Excavator, Prospector, and Surveyor. Commander Maya Reyes, having been quickly transferred from the Sentinel, now stood on the bridge of the Excavator. Her crew was a carefully selected mix of naval personnel and actual mining engineers chosen for both their technical skills and discretion. "Our mission is to protect New Seattle using any means necessary," she addressed them. "But officially, we're establishing new mining operations. Remember your cover if we encounter Concord observers." The Vulcan vessels approached New Seattle, sensors detecting 4 Diraxian warships in orbit. The colony's defensive systems had been neutralized, and Diraxian landing craft were descending to the surface. "Open a channel," Maya ordered. The reptilian face of a Diraxian commander appeared on screen, his neck frills expanding with irritation. "Human vessels, this area is now under Diraxian protection. Your colonists have violated sacred ancestral territory. Withdraw immediately." "This is Commander Reyes of the Earth Mining Corporation vessel Excavator. We're here to establish mining operations as per our legal colonial charter. Our sensors indicate your vessels are threatening our facilities. Please withdraw." The Diraxian commander's scales flushed a deep orange. "Your pathetic mining ships pose no threat to Diraxian military vessels. Leave now or be destroyed." Maya cut the communication. "Deploy mining shields." The 8 Earth vessels activated their atmospheric containment fields, actually military-grade shields adapted from technology traded with the Luminar. "Prepare extraction tools," Maya continued, her voice steady. The ship's primary mining lasers emerged from their housings. The Diraxians fired first, energy weapons lashing out at the Excavator. The shields held, absorbing the attack with surprising effectiveness. "Begin extraction procedures," Maya ordered, a small smile forming. The Excavator's main laser fired, the energy beam cutting through the lead Diraxian ship's shields with devastating precision. The other Vulcan vessels engaged their industrial cutting tools, slicing through Diraxian hull plating. The Diraxians, caught completely off guard by the effectiveness of what they believed were civilian vessels, attempted to regroup. Their commander frantically called for reinforcements. "Deploy atmosphere collection systems," Maya ordered. The Vulcan ships activated their collection arrays, actually powerful tractor beams that seized the smaller Diraxian landing craft, preventing them from reaching the colony surface. 25 minutes later, the battle was over. 3 Diraxian warships retreated with significant damage. The 4th had been disabled, its crew evacuated to escape pods that were now being collected for safety by the Earth vessels. As the Excavator landed near the colony's main settlement, Governor Chen rushed to meet Commander Reyes. "I don't understand," he said, looking at the mining vessel designation on the hull. "When they told me help was coming, I expected military ships." Maya smiled as her crew deployed, carrying equipment that could serve both mining and defensive purposes. "These are dangerous asteroids to mine, Governor. We come prepared for all hazards." News of the encounter spread quickly through Concord channels. The Diraxians lodged a formal protest, claiming Earth had violated Section 23 of the treaty. When Concord inspectors arrived to investigate, they found only mining vessels engaged in legitimate operations, with defensive capabilities well within treaty limitations. Ambassador Lin found herself once again in the Concord Assembly Hall, facing the accusations of the Diraxian delegation. These were clearly military ships disguised as civilian vessels. Grand Minister Volbrax hissed, neck frills fully extended in rage. Lynn maintained her composure. We deployed standard mining vessels to protect our legitimate colony. If your military ships were defeated by our mining equipment, perhaps that reflects more on your military preparedness than any treaty violation on our part. The Luminar High Chancellor examined the inspection reports. All vessels conform to Class 1 civilian specifications. No treaty violations are evident. Volbrax fumed, but could do nothing. Back on Earth, Admiral Nakamura reviewed the after-action reports with satisfaction. Begin full production of the Vulcan vessels, he ordered, and expand the program. I want research ships, medical vessels, and deep space explorers that all meet the same dual-purpose criteria. Humanity had found its way to defend itself within the constraints imposed upon them. It wouldn't be the last time human ingenuity would surprise the Galactic Concord. The Triumph. 8 months after the New Seattle incident, the situation had evolved into an uneasy standoff. The Duraxians had withdrawn their forces from human colonial space, but continued to make threatening gestures along the borders. Meanwhile, Earth had accelerated the Vulcan initiative, launching dozens of new civilian vessels with increasingly sophisticated dual-purpose systems. Commander Maya Rice, now Captain Rice, stood on the bridge of the Surveyor, a scientific research vessel that housed what was effectively a prototype energy cannon disguised as a planetary scanning array. Her promotion had come with a new assignment, patrolling the edge of the Tav-CD system, where intelligence suggested the Duraxians were planning their next move. Sensor contact, reported Lieutenant Dias. 3 vessels approaching from Duraxian space. Classification, Rice asked, straightening in her command chair. 1 diplomatic courier and 2 military escorts. They're requesting permission to approach. Rice raised an eyebrow. Interesting. The Duraxians don't typically send diplomatic missions, grant permission but maintain defensive readiness. The sleek Duraxian diplomatic vessel docked with the Surveyor at a safe distance from the human colony on Ta City IV. To Rice's surprise, the Duraxian representative wasn't Grand Minister Volbrax, but an older, more decorated individual whose ceremonial armor marked him as a high-ranking member of their ruling caste. I am Supreme Elder Xalvac, the Duraxian announced as he entered the Surveyor's conference room. I come with a direct message from the Duraxian hierarchy. Captain Rice inclined her head respectfully. Earth welcomes your message, Supreme Elder. The aged Duraxian's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of calculation among his kind. The recent misunderstandings between our peoples are unfortunate. We propose a joint operation. Joint operation. Rice repeated, keeping her expression neutral. Yes. Against a common enemy. Xalvac activated a holographic projector, displaying an unfamiliar species of crystalline entities whose bodies seemed to shimmer with internal energy. The Crystallis have broken through the Veil Nebula. They've already consumed 3 Duraxian outpost worlds and are moving toward this sector. Rice studied the images with growing concern. The Crystallis ships were massive geometric constructs that appeared to be grown rather than built, each one a perfect geometric shape that refracted light in hypnotic patterns. Why come to us? She asked. The Concord has significant combined military forces. The Concord moves too slowly. Xalvac's neck frills rippled with irritation. By the time they authorize a response fleet, both our territories will be overrun. Rice understood the unspoken truth. The Duraxians needed humanity's help, but couldn't officially request military assistance without acknowledging the effectiveness of Earth's civilian vessels. I'll need to consult with my government, she said carefully. 24 hours later, Admiral Nakamura, now head of Earth's Space Defense Force, convened a secure meeting with the Defense Council. Captain Rice attended via quantum link. The intelligence checks out, confirmed Director Vega of Earth Intelligence. The Crystallis are real and dangerous. They're silicon-based entities that consume planetary resources to expand their collective. 3 Duraxian worlds have gone silent. And now they want our help. Ambassador Lin noted with a thin smile, after doing everything possible to limit our defensive capabilities. Admiral Nakamura nodded. Ironic, but it presents an opportunity. I recommend we agree to a joint operation, with conditions. What conditions? Asked Defense Secretary Okonkwo. First, formal acknowledgement that our civilian vessels will participate as they are. No questions about their capabilities. Second, a renegotiation of Section 23 after the crisis is resolved. Lin considered this. The Duraxians won't like it, but they're desperate. I'll handle the diplomacy. 3 days later, an unprecedented joint fleet assembled at the edge of human space. 15 Earth vessels officially designated as research, mining, and exploration ships rendezvoused with 24 Duraxian warships. Captain Reyes, commanding the Earth contingent from the Surveyor, met with Duraxian Fleet Commander Trazek to coordinate strategy. The Crystallis will emerge from hyperspace near the Barnard Star Gateway. Trazek explained, his typically arrogant demeanor subdued by the magnitude of the threat. Our warships will engage them directly while your vessels provide support. Reyes smiled thinly. My mining and research ships will do what they can, Commander. The Crystallis arrived exactly where predicted, a swarm of 12 geometric vessels, each one larger than the largest Duraxian warship. They moved in perfect formation, their crystalline surfaces absorbing energy weapons fire from the Duraxian vessels with minimal damage. Analysis, Reyes ordered as the battle began. Their hulls appear to be diffracting our scans, reported Science Officer Park. They're absorbing and redirecting energy in some kind of resonance pattern. Reyes watched as the Duraxian fleet hammered the Crystallis ships with their most powerful weapons, barely leaving a mark. 3 Duraxian vessels had already been disabled, their systems failing after being bathed in some kind of crystalline radiation. What happens when you strike a crystal with the right frequency? Reyes asked suddenly. Park's eyes widened with understanding. It shatters. Exactly. Reconfigure our planetary scanners to emit a modulating frequency. Start with the upper harmonic range and work down. The Earth vessels moved into a new formation. Their scanning arrays, actually advanced energy weapons, beginning to pulse with a rhythmic pattern of energy. At first, nothing happened, but as the frequencies adjusted, the nearest Crystallis ship began to vibrate visibly. We're affecting it, Park exclaimed. The crystalline structure is experiencing resonance disruption. Transmit the effective frequency range to the Duraxian vessels, Reyes ordered. Tell them to modulate their weapons accordingly. The joint fleet adapted its attack strategy. The Duraxian ships adjusted their weapons to match the frequencies discovered by the humans, while the Earth vessels used their mining lasers and scientific instruments to target structural weaknesses identified by their scans. One by one, the Crystallis ships began to fracture, brilliant shards of living crystal breaking apart in the void. But the battle was far from one-sided. 3 more Duraxian warships were destroyed, and 2 Earth vessels suffered significant damage. The Crystallis mothership, a massive dodecahedron that dwarfed all other vessels, remained intact, shrugging off the coordinated attacks. It's adapting to the resonant frequencies, Park reported urgently. We need something more powerful. Reyes studied the tactical display, mind racing. What about our atmospheric collection systems? The tractor beams. They're not powerful enough to affect something that size. Not individually, Reyes agreed. But what if we linked them? Created a resonance feedback loop. Understanding dawned on Park's face, like a standing wave pattern. If we position our ships at the correct intervals, we could amplify the effect exponentially. Reyes finished. Get me Commander Trazek. The Duraxian commander's face appeared on screen, his scales pale with stress. Whatever you're planning, human, do it quickly. We cannot hold much longer. I need your ships to form a perimeter around the mothership. Keep its attention while my vessels move into position. Trazek hesitated only briefly before nodding. It will be done. The remaining Duraxian warships formed a spherical formation around the Crystallis mothership, their weapons fire keeping the massive entity occupied while the Earth vessels maneuvered into a precise geometric pattern of their own, forming a three-dimensional resonance array. "All ships in position," reported Lieutenant Dias. "Atmospheric collection systems at maximum power. Synchronize and activate on my mark," Reyes ordered. 3, 2, 1. Now. All 13 remaining Earth vessels activated their collection systems simultaneously. Visible beams of force connected each ship to its neighbors and to the Crystallis mothership, creating a complex web of energy. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then a low vibration began to build. The crystalline surface of the alien vessel began to shimmer, then visibly oscillate as the resonance effect grew stronger. Cracks appeared along its geometric edges, spreading rapidly across its faces. "It's working," Park exclaimed. "The molecular bonds are destabilizing." "Duraxian vessels, withdraw immediately," Reyes transmitted. "Resonance cascade imminent." The Duraxian ships barely had time to retreat before the Crystallis mothership shattered in a spectacular explosion of crystalline fragments, the energy wave rippling outward and destroying the remaining smaller Crystallis vessels. In the sudden silence that followed, Captain Reyes let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Damage report. 3 vessels with moderate damage, no casualties," Dias reported with barely contained excitement. "We did it, Captain." 2 weeks later, Maya Reyes stood beside Ambassador Lin in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Stellar Nexus. The Galactic Concord had convened an emergency session to address the Crystallis threat and to acknowledge the unexpected joint operation that had defeated the first wave. High Chancellor Eliax addressed the assembly. "The combined human-Duraxian fleet has demonstrated the value of cooperation in the face of existential threats. We commend both species for setting aside their differences." Supreme Elder Xalvac, now representing the Duraxian delegation in place of the disgraced Volbrax, rose to speak. "The Duraxian hierarchy formally recognizes the resourcefulness of humanity. Their innovative approach to vessel design and unconventional tactical thinking proved decisive against the Crystallis." Murmurs spread through the assembly as Stalvek continued. "In light of their contribution, we withdraw our objections to Section 23 of Earth's Admission Treaty. We propose that humans be granted full military development rights equal to all other Concord members." Ambassador Lin stepped forward, her expression carefully neutral despite the diplomatic victory. "Earth accepts this proposal with gratitude. We look forward to contributing our unique perspective to the Concord's collective defense." As the assembly erupted in discussion, Maya leaned close to Lin. "They know exactly what we did with our civilian vessels, don't they?" Lin smiled. "Of course. But now they respect us for it, rather than fear us." 3 months later, the keel of the first official Earth warship was laid at the orbital shipyard above Mars. Captain Maya Reyes watched the ceremony from the observation deck, Admiral Nakamura standing beside her. "What will you call her?" Maya asked, nodding toward the nascent vessel. Nakamura smiled. "Ingenuity," he said, "to remind us that our greatest strength has never been our weapons, but our ability to adapt and overcome." Maya nodded, watching as construction drones swarmed over the framework of humanity's first true interstellar warship. The Crystallis threat remained, and new challenges would certainly arise, but humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through overwhelming force, but through cleverness, determination, and the ability to find solutions where others saw only constraints. In the vast darkness of space, that might prove to be the most powerful weapon of all.